Thank you again for staying and for being here for this very interesting evening. Now we will begin the event for Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and I want to again review. The candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening and closing statement, and 2 minutes to respond to the questions that I will ask that were posed by the community. And I will not allow any questions of a personal or abusive nature. Again, if your cell phone is on, please turn it off. And now I would like to introduce the Democratic Party primary candidate for Greenburgh Town Supervisor, Bob Bernstein. Mr. Bernstein, you have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you, Ms. Westfeld, for moderating this evening's event. I want to also thank the Council of Greenburgh Civic Associations for sponsoring this event. The Council of Greenburgh Civic Associations has been a nonpartisan organization that has served the Greenburgh community for nearly 60 years. They have hosted debates time and again. They have always been fair and reasonable. I'm running for Greenburgh Town Supervisor because after 22 years, we need a change. We need a change because we need to get out from the legal muck and mire that we have been in this town. We need to lift the cloud and begin anew with progressive leadership. Leadership that will end the backroom deals. Leadership that will go forward and end the lawsuits that have been plaguing the town. You know, we have a town supervisor who's been found guilty by a federal court of violating the constitutional rights of the church, destroying evidence, and not telling the truth under oath. That's not right. And those actions will cost Greenburgh taxpayers and taxpayers in unincorporated Greenburgh as much as $7 million, none of which will be insured. We need to break away from the past. The time is now to do the change we need and to have management and accountability for a change. That's what I hope to bring, and if elected with Sheikh Armstrong on Tuesday, I believe we can do it. Thank you.
Now, applause. You can applaud at the end. Okay. Question number 1. Do you propose to hire a town manager? And if yes, how will you offset the effect of this cost on the town's budget?
The issue of town management, or town manager, I'm sorry. The issue of a town manager is one possible tool that can be utilized to create better decision-making for the town, and it's something we should definitely explore, just as other towns in Westchester's have done. Newcastle, North Castle, Mamaroneck, Scarsdale all have professional managers. Whether we ultimately need a professional manager or town manager, what his or her duties will be, how much it will cost, whether we need to restructure the salary of the supervisor and the support staff to pay for it, will all depend on my review of the town's current management and what I, working with members of the town council, conclude makes the most sense for Greenburgh. I would not support the hiring of a town manager unless, or any additional management for that matter, unless until my colleagues and I agree that the quality of town decision-making will improve and that the job will pay for itself with overall savings to taxpayers. So that's how I see the role of town management or professional management. It's a tool we may need to use to improve the situation we have now, where decision-making is not well executed. We have properties that are not sold when they're foreclosed. We have decisions that end up in lawsuits, costing taxpayers millions in damages and legal fees. That's wrong, and we have to come up with a better way to do decision-making in this town.
Thank you. The next question is, how do you plan to unite Greenburgh's villages and hamlets that make up the town for the future?
Well, thank you. That's a very good question. Right now, there is a tremendous opportunity to work together with the villages in the town of Greenburgh to achieve savings, particularly in purchasing. I think that the town, as the largest purchaser of services and supplies, could work with the villages and their managers and their mayors and trustees to come up with ways in which together we can save money for each of us, the taxpayers in unincorporated Greenburgh and the taxpayers in the villages. The time to do this is now. Unfortunately, the villages have not felt comfortable working with the town given its current leadership. The villages, who are very eager and anxious to find ways to save money, are reaching out to each other because they find a willing partner in the town to work with. That will end. We need to find ways to save money. We need to find ways to achieve savings. And the one thing I will say is that I believe very strongly in the protecting and preserving the sovereignty of those villages. And in fact, any other taxing entity within the town of Greenburgh, be it school districts, fire districts, what have you. We can all work together to achieve savings, efficiencies, if only we respected the sovereignty of these groups. And remember that these groups, these individual groups, provide the incubator for change and innovation. So together we can work to make things better. And that will start on day one when I'm elected.
Thank you. Next question is, how did you first get involved in local politics?
Well, I've lived in Greenburgh for 22 years. Ironically, the same length of time as the current supervisor has been in office. About 10 years ago, when I was between cases, I was out walking my dog. While walking my dog, I ran into my neighbors, and my neighbors began to ask me questions about problems they were having with the town. And I said, oh, I'm sure if you just ask Paul Feiner, he'll solve them for you. And they said, we did. He's not returning our calls. I said, that's ridiculous. Of course he'll return your calls. He says he does. And they said, no, he's not. We're asking him questions he doesn't want to answer. I said, well, I'll ask for you. Surely he'll respond to me. Well, wouldn't you know it, I got the same runaround too. So I began coming to town board meetings. And then I became a regular at town board meetings, speaking out on behalf of my civic association, and then on behalf of the Edgemont Community Council, attending meetings of the Council of Greenburgh Civic Associations as well, and becoming as well-versed and well-educated in town issues as I could possibly be. That's how I got involved. And quite frankly, I'm glad I did, because this was a job that needed to be done. I don't know why. Maybe it all started with my dog, but it was calling my name, and here I am.
Okay, I have 3 questions which are similar, so I'm going to combine them. I'm going to ask them together. I'm going to ask 2 of them together. Okay, what is your definition of open government, and how will it be improved if you are elected? And the next question is, how do you plan to restore integrity and transparency in the Greenburgh government, which some residents feel has been lost.
All right, let me respond.
I think they're related.
I think they are related, and I'm happy to respond. The first thing we need to do to restore integrity is to restore transparency. Greenburgh today is not the model of open government it was once portrayed to be. FOIL requests, that's a request for information, are routinely ignored. We know that because residents come and they repeatedly say at town board meetings, I've requested this, I've requested that, and I've received no answer. That will end. Residents will receive answers. I will put an end to the backroom deals. No more backroom deals. All deals regarding land use in the town of Greenburgh need to be open, upfront, and before everyone, so that we can all assess the pros and cons of whatever transaction is before us. Residents can determine whether they are adversely affected, or they can determine whether they like the idea. But they need to know what's going on, be heard, and have an opportunity to be able to have input in the decision-making process. These things will go a long way toward restoring integrity. And one other thing, town board meetings are held in this room every 2 weeks. Residents who have questions or concerns often have to wait 2 to 3 hours to be able to get 3 minutes to raise their questions, and then they don't get answers. That will end on day one when I'm elected. No resident should ever be put to such abuse. We will restore civility, common sense, and decency, and it will show in the town of Greenburgh when I'm elected.
Okay, thank you. I have another question which is related, which you can tell me you've already answered with what you just said. Can you tell us what are your plans to change or improve the functioning of the town's government?
Well, let me expand on what I said a little bit. One of the things we need to do is improve the budgeting in this town. You know, taxes in Greenburgh have gone up dramatically. Since the last contested election in 2007, taxes in unincorporated Greenburgh went up 54%. That's higher than they went up in the villages, and higher than they went up in most other areas. In fact, the fact that it went up so much is one of the reasons why Governor Cuomo pushed so hard for a tax cap. Because of the abuses in Greenburgh, where 1 year taxes in unincorporated Greenburgh went up 24%. In the villages, since 2007, the town tax portion of the village taxes went up 145%. This kind of budgeting has to end. We need responsible budgeting where we take each department, analyze what the needs are in each department, assess what each of the revenues are in that department, whether they come from federal government, state government, private grants, user fees, and then taxpayer dollars to ensure that every need is met and to ensure that that there's absolute accountability, not just at the end of the budget year, but every single month of the budget year. And the public knows what's going on with a monthly report showing how their money is being spent, department by department. With this kind of transparency, with this kind of efficiency, we can move beyond the opaque decision-making that we have now, which has led to so many problems and cost us so much money.
Okay, thank you. The rest of the questions are for Mr. Feiner. I have one question here. I'm going to ask the audience if you want to ask, because I know nothing about this. So I'm going to ask the question, and if anyone objects, we'll just throw it out. The question is, this is the last question anyway. The Fortress Bible Church land use application and subsequent lawsuit are a mess. What is the best way to resolve the situation?
Objection.
You object? Okay.
I don't understand. I'm happy to address the question.
No, but I don't know if this is a partisan question or not.
No.
It's a debate.
It's
a debate.
But it's not a debate because there's, I don't know.
I think the question, and I see there are supporters of Mr. Feiner.
No, I feel even if one person objects, because this is not a debate, this is a forum, and
The opportunity was here for Mr. Feiner to attend.
That's
true.
That's true, but I am with the League of Women Voters, and we
Take a
usually.
vote on it.
No, there's no voting. There's no voting, I'm sorry. Yeah. You can comment in your closing statement.
On behalf of the council, on behalf of the Council of Greenburgh Civic Association, the rules have stated that the moderator has the final authority on anything that's asked. And while I appreciate, and I would love to hear Mr. Bernstein respond to it, perhaps he can work it into a closing statement. And please respect the process. Thank you.
I'm sorry, this is not, usually when there's an empty chair, we don't even allow questions, but I felt in courtesy to everyone who came out and did ask questions that you deserve to hear what the candidate has to say. Anyway, okay, so we're finished with these questions, and I'm now ready for you to have your 2-minute closing statement, and you can say anything you want. Except personal or abusive comments.
Thank you. Again, I ask for your vote on September 10th for Greenburgh Town Supervisor. After 22 years, it's time for a change. And you know, the question just arose about Fortress Bible. Fortress Bible is the church whose constitutional rights were violated by the supervisor according to the federal court. He's the one who doubled down with our money to appeal that ruling, and the ruling was affirmed unanimously. The damages could well be in excess of $6-7 million, $5 million of which we already know about. The rest is attorney's fees. The damages will be tried the day after the primary is over. He's gambling with our money. What would I do? This is the kind of case that the courts have been urging the town to settle for years, and the town did not do so. You know, I come before you, ladies and gentlemen, not asking you to fire Paul Feiner. I'm asking you to retire Paul Feiner. The time has come for a change. He did some good things in 22 years, but he's done some things that were not so good, and they're costing us a lot of money. Town board meetings today are not pleasant affairs. They're hostile. It's an us against them attitude. That's wrong. I feel that when I'm elected, I'll be able to work with members of the town board to achieve consensus, common sense, civility, and overall change for the better for the town. So again, I ask you for your vote. I think it's a shame that Paul Feiner thumbed his nose at this debate, the only debate in unincorporated Greenburgh to be held. We are the ones. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you all for attending this evening, and in closing, I would like to encourage all eligible Democratic primary voters, either here tonight or watching a rebroadcast of the program, to vote in the primary on Tuesday, September 10th. The polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., and the general election is Tuesday, November 5th. And if you would like information about the League of Women Voters, I will stay late and answer all questions. But thank you all and good night. Oh, one moment, please.
I just want you all to give a big round of applause for Sue Weisfeld. She has risen to the occasion and been magnificent tonight. And I also would like you to thank John Blakely. Thank you. As Sue said, make sure you go out and vote on September 10th.